Hello, it's me. So I think I went live. Can you hear me? Hold on, hold on. Let me put this phone away for 1 second. Can you hear me there? Could you hear me there? Are you gone? So how do I gone? I have my laptop on to get the comments. How do I turn that on? Shall I just go to create room or photo video? Yeah, I am on that. Hold, hold on. I don't see that. Oh, okay, okay. Well, let's wing it. Okay, bye. Hi, everybody. I'm actually a little early. Still trying to figure out. No, I didn't want that at all. I cannot see the comments. Hello. Yes. Yes. Gail. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? We are here at Alternative Venues for Jazz. And thank you, Gail Boyd, for organizing all of these wonderful webinars and discussion groups. It's absolutely fantastic what you're doing. We are here at Alternative Venues for Jazz. And thank you, Gail Boyd, for organizing all of these wonderful webinars and discussion groups. It's absolutely fantastic what you're doing. My name is Ina Dittke from Ina Dittke and Associates, a music management company and agency based in Miami. My name is Ina Dittke from Ina Dittke and Associates, a music management company and agency based in Miami. We are going to talk a little bit about my history, but I will keep it as short as possible because you got everything already from Gail's post. And the main topic of this afternoon's talk will be live music and how to go forward. So I'm I'm from Germany, as you probably all know. I'm born in Düsseldorf, and luckily my father was a huge jazz fan, and especially a big band fan. So I grew up with Atomic Mr. Basie, Buddy Rich, Gene Krupa, Duke Ellington, and then, of course, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, and so forth. And I then went to the conservatory to study classical piano and picked as a second instrument alto saxophone to study jazz. But at that time, we didn't have jazz departments yet. That was just a bit too early. It was just like about a couple of years maybe before jazz was introduced to all conservatories. I just fell down. Let's see that. You still can see me. Anyway, I left the conservatory and went to New York at a rather early age. I was 21 when I went to New York. I came for 3 weeks, but I ended up staying kind of forever. And in New York, which in the early 80s, of course, was the most exciting times of all. And I went to see everybody, from Johnny Griffin, Jaco Pastorius, Rashid Ali, James Blood Ulmer, even Chet Baker. I got to see Chet Baker once. And also Philly Joe Jones I got to see once. And it was just the most amazing times. During that time in the early 80s, I formed my first company, ID Productions. I always thought everybody needs an ID. So ID Productions was my first band I worked with was Jack Walrath and Mike Clark, a quintet, whom I toured in Europe a couple times. And through Jack, I got introduced to David Fathead Newman. So I then started working with David Fathead Newman and Hank Crawford and their quintet and toured them in Europe. And I always remember David Fathead Newman when I drove up with my big van. I bought a van to drive everybody around in Europe. And I drove up to the hotel, and he came out and he looked at the van, then looked at me and then said, "Where's the driver?" And I said, "Well, that would be me." He was definitely not happy about it. Hank Crawford, he thought it was a great idea. He thought it was extremely funny, actually. And when we had a fantastic time with the tour with the quintet. It included Calvin Newman, Phineas Newman's brother, and it was a wonderful group. Then we also, during the time, I worked with Billy Bang, and I don't know whether you listened to J.P. Leduc, wonderful talk yesterday or the day before, who recorded the Vietnam sessions with Billy Bang. So Billy became a very close friend in the early 80s. And then I met, you might remember Mike Hennessy, a British journalist who wrote for Billboard magazine, but also wrote a couple books and stuff. He was a very close friend of Nathan Davis, a saxophone player from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Nathan just put together the Paris Reunion Band in honor of Kenny Clark. And the Paris Union Band was, besides Nathan, was Johnny Griffin, Woody Shaw, Dizzy Reese, Slide Hampton, and Kenny Drew on piano, Jimmy Woody, and Billy Brooks. So that became my very first all-star band when I was 25. And I took them to Europe for a 5-week tour. And that summer, we recorded the DVD and the vinyl recording, and then did the long tour. Then we also toured in the United States, which was a fantastic experience for me at that age. Johnny Griffin thought it was the funniest thing when he heard that I would be the tour manager. And he thought, like, this young woman from Germany will be touring with them. He is in. Just to watch it. But by the way, I just wanted to interrupt here. if you want to send comments in, which I still don't know whether I can see them. I guess I can. Hold on 1 second. Oh yes, I can. Hey Karen. Hey Estrella. Hey Jeff. Tanya. Lovely to see you all. Okay, we're moving right on. After I became very close with Nathan, and Nathan Davis then introduced me to James Moody, NEA jazz master James Moody, who was probably one of the loveliest, biggest, best men and musicians I've ever came across. And we had, I remember we had lunch in Manhattan Plaza, where I lived at the time. And somehow we must obviously have clicked, because I became his manager there and then, and we stayed together until he passed in 2010. His wife, Linda and I, we are still best friends. We're like sisters, which is wonderful. But with Moody, I mean, we had so many experiences, and I mean, we toured the world together. And on his 80th birthday, we went to Hawaii. We went everywhere. And like I said, Moody was just so special. I've never came across anybody like him again. After that, I connected with Brian Theobald from London. And while I was in New York, he was in London. But together we formed, it was BPR, it was the agency which represented Ronnie Scott. Not Ronnie Scott's club, but Ronnie Scott the musician. And together we toured the Dizzy Gillespie United Nation Orchestra, Roy Ayers, Era Carey. We had a lot of Cuban bands, with Chucho Valdez, of course. Tito Puente and Celia Cruz. Tito and I were very close. We had a lot of fun together. And we presented many, many concerts like Miles Davis, Stan Getz, Herbie Hancock, Joe Henderson. Pretty much everybody who was around at the time we promoted or presented it in one shape or form. Dave Brubeck, of course. And then I toured in the year 2000. I was touring with Miriam Makeba, and we ended up in Lebanon, in Beirut, for the Betadine Festival, where she always wanted to go to. And we stayed at the Intercontinental, and I remember I just came back from the gym, and was sweaty, all sweaty and stuff. And Miriam was in the lobby finishing breakfast, and she came to me and said, "Ina, I would like to talk to you." And I said, well, give me a moment, let me go to my room and have a shower, and I come to your suite. And he said, no, I want to talk to you now. So, sweaty and all, I went to her suite and I sat there and I said, what can I do for you? And Miriam said, Ina, I have had bad management. I had a good manager, but I don't think he did the best for me. I'm now looking for a new manager, and I would like you to manage me for everywhere outside of Africa. And I was stunned. I mean, Miriam Makeba is Mama Africa. She's like, an icon. And I said, can I now go to have a shower before I give you my answer? And she said, no, you can't. I do need to have an answer right here and now. So I said yes. And from 2000 until her untimely passing in November 2008, when I actually had her on tour in Europe, she died after her fantastic concert in Naples, Italy. After 2 encores, standing ovations, she made it to the green room and passed away. But we had a wonderful time together. I mean, thanks to Miriam, I met pretty much everybody, from the King of Sweden, because she got the Polar Prize. We had dinner at the President's House of Iceland. I met Nelson Mandela because of Miriam Makeba. And Miriam was not an easy person to live with, but we had fabulous, fabulous times. And what an artist. I mean, there's nobody like it ever again. And that's the fact that she asked me to manage her. It was such a compliment. And we had great, fabulous times together. She came a couple of times to our house with the band. When I was living part in Miami, part in England, and she came to our house in Brighton, England, when we had her performing at the Dome. And after dinner, she would make the band sit around the dining room table and do an a cappella song as a thank you. And I always just remembered, I wish I could have recorded it, because we had this old Regency house with really high ceilings. It was like a recording studio where you didn't need anything, no amplification or anything. And it was just so beautiful. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. Well, that was my time with that. That was all the olden days. As you can tell from the names I mentioned, most of these artists are long gone, but we haven't stopped. I changed, after my partner died in 2006, I changed my company name to Dittke and Associates, because it was now just me. And we are still representing fantastic jazz artists like the Cookers, a classic band with Billy Harper, Eddie Henderson, Donald Harrison, David Weiss, Cecil McBee, George Cables, wonderful George Cables, and Billy Hart. I'm working for 15 years now, or even more, with Charles Tolliver, who is releasing a new album and end of July, the first in 13 years. I'm very proud of that, because it was recorded during a tour I did with him and Buster Williams, Lenny White, Jesse Davis, and Keith Brown in last November. And they had one day off, and we used that day to record for the London label Gearbox Records. And this is coming out in end of July. And besides the Cookers, we also work with P.V. Ellis. I have been working with P.V. Ellis, who everybody considers as a funkster, but he's also a great jazz saxophonist who trained under Sonny Rollins. And many other artists. We recently got together with Vincent Herring. We represent since three and a half years now, amazing young Matthew Whitaker. Just got together with another extremely young artist called Brandon Goldberg, who, if you haven't heard about him yet, you definitely will hear about him. He is astounding. He's only 14 years old and already wrote symphonies and a lot of own compositions. It does arrangements to other music, and he's just a fabulous young man. But let's talk about our problem, which is, and has been for a while, but now we have a different problem. But I'm in the live music industry. I'm not in the recorded. I arrange record deals for Moody and other artists, but mainly my business is live music. And of course, the live music industry is hugely affected. It has become very difficult already for quite some time, where audience moods have shifted, and some artists, I don't want to mention names, but we all know this, all know who we are talking about. Some artists get all the money, and then the bulk of the group, the bulk of the artists, get the rest. And it makes it extremely difficult. And it also has become, for some time now, like a take it or leave it atmosphere from promoters, because there are so many bands on offer, and only that many venues to play in, or that many festival spots to play. But now we have even, let me just have a quick look here. Hey Paul, nice that you joined. Oh Brandon, there you are. You're more than welcome. So beside of that selling jazz, real jazz, has become difficult already, although we all know that there is a huge amount of, globally, there's a huge amount of people who love jazz. They love real jazz, they love funk jazz, they love all kinds of music. I mean, the audience is out there. But then suddenly, bang, came the coronavirus. I knew it when I came back from APEP. When I came back from APEP in January, I was doing my Pilates exercises in front of the television, the morning news in Miami. And I saw this report about a virus coming out of Wuhan, China. And I just booked, while I was in New York, I booked the Buster Williams Quartet at the Blue Notes in China for April. But before that, in March, I already had a contract for the Dizzy Gillespie Afro-Cuban experience to go to China in March. And I stopped that and I said, oh my God, here we go. Because once the Chinese released openly that there is a virus going around, I knew this can't be good. And oh, I was right. What the Western world, the entire Western world made a huge mistake. Once it entered Italy, they all should have locked down instantly. But because it was so new, we have never experienced it. We didn't have Ebola, we didn't have SARS, we didn't have any of the other viruses. So one has to give the governments a little bit of slack there because they just didn't know what they were doing. But everything got cancelled, of course, for everybody, not just for me. And here we are facing a situation where we all kind of wonder, how can we survive? How can venues survive? How can musicians survive? How can people like me and all my colleagues who live on commissions, what can we do? So I just before I came on here, I happened to see on Facebook from a good friend of mine who does a daily encouragement. He posted something from James Baldwin. Not everything can be faced, can be changed, but nothing can be changed that is not faced. So let's face it. Let's face this new reality. I give you a couple of examples. I'm just trying to see if there's any questions so far. Don't see it. I give you a couple of examples which is happening so far. I mean, we all know, and I don't want to go into streaming because like Pat Harris, my dear colleague, she has done a great talk already about streaming. We know that the Blue Note, and it's fantastic, I'm going to get a few of our artists onto the Blue Note streaming side. A lot of people do streaming from home, which is all great. And I agree with another colleague of mine, Michelle Taylor, who says that the artist should be paid for it, something, whatever it is, they should be paid for it because it's intellectual property and there's content which belongs to them. So that is, but that's a different conversation. I'm looking at the live music industry, and to be honest, I haven't gotten my head around it yet. But just as an example, I think there's some places in America who do it for rock music and folk music. And I've seen it in Denmark, I have seen it in Germany. They call it a drive-in concert. So where you have a big car park and they build up a stage and they stream the music into your car, into your radio, while you see the live band on stage. So it gives you kind of a live experience. I've talked to a few promoters about that, and we all agree it's a little gimmicky. I mean, how often do you want to sit in your car to watch a live concert? You might do it once, maybe twice, but I don't think you will do it like a lot. Then there is another example, a friend of mine who has a club in Germany, in Kassel. He produced this 12-page booklet which he presented to the police and environmental officers of his city, how he keeps everybody safe, staff, musicians, and guests. Sorry. And he is now doing weekly live concerts. I mean, all local bands, because the fees are so relatively small. So he has the band on stage, a perplex glass screen in front of the stage to protect the audience from the musicians from the audience and vice versa. He had 30 people in his club, which normally hold like 200 plus people, so 15 couples. But he also sold 300 YouTube spaces for reduced ticket price. And he's making it work. Then, of course, in Germany, the entertainment industry is hugely supported by the government, which is not in every country. It's certainly not here in America. That's for sure. So that is the thing. Just backtracking. Sadly, I'm a subscriber of the beside of Jazz Times and down with I'm also getting a Jazz Wise magazine from England, and I read that 2 days ago that the South Bank Centre, which is the Royal Festival Hall, Queen Elizabeth Hall, Purcell Room, and the National Theatre, they're facing closure. They're facing bankruptcy, which would be unbelievable if that would be going. So we are really hoping, and we have to get petitions together for the government to step in and save this institution. But I also read in the same article that the Jazz Cafe, for example, another club in London, is facing closure, and they are in their 30th year this year. So that would be an enormous shame. So I would like to hear from some of you what you think can be done to bring live music back. Is it possible to bring it back until there is a vaccine? What to do about travel? I mean, do people feel safe going to airports, getting on planes? Especially in my case, forget about Brandon Goldberg and Matthew Whitaker at the moment, but a lot of my artists are of a certain age, which means in spite of the fact that they are physically and mentally super fit, but they do belong to the vulnerable groups. And like with P.V. Ellis, I have a couple of dates coming up for him, one in August, which we decided already. It's too soon to travel. Another one is a festival in November. P.V. lives in England, and this festival is in Czech Republic. So it's not it's not a long flight, but it doesn't matter how long the flight is. P.V. is still of that certain age group, and has to go through airports, onto a transport to get to the town where the festival is, stay in a hotel. What do we know about the sanitations and those hotels and venues? So one other thing I saw last weekend was Billy Hart Quartet did a live concert at the Village Vanguard to no audience, and there were only 3 other people in the venue, in the Vanguard. There were 2 sound technicians and 1 video person, and they sold tickets for $7. And I don't know yet how that ended up and how many tickets they actually sold, but I thought it was a fantastic initiative, like positive and live, and so that I think that was really, really good. And I hope a lot of other clubs might start doing that, invite the bands and then sell it online. But for people still, even if they're at home, but they can sit at home with a glass of wine or something like that and enjoy a live set, a live concert. So that I thought was good for Billy. Does any of you have any ideas about how to make things work? Because with the reduced capacities, I really do believe, and I'm not a pessimist, I'm a pragmatist and a realist. I'm definitely not a pessimist, otherwise I wouldn't be working in this business in the first place. Any of you have any comments to make? Jason, totally agree with you. I'm really sorry. I do agree that until there is a vaccine, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that, Karen. Thank you. So the Vanguard pays the artist and then gets the money back from. Well, that's brilliant. Teaming up with tourism and having artists perform in unique space. Tanya, I need to read yours again in a bit. And Gail, what are you saying? Well, Karen, do you have any idea what the Village Vanguard, for example, is paying the artist? I mean, in fairness, there is no travel costs. I've said that. Yes, Jason, I saw that from you before, that you said it should be solo, duos, trios, etc. It's difficult. Jeff, I would love to talk to you more about that. So let's hook up on Skype or on Zoom another time. And Gail, yes, what are the fees that are being paid when there's no audience and you sell tickets for $7? I mean, I'm sure that it didn't cost $7 to come to the Village Vanguard. So the other question I had from Gail earlier was about rescheduling. I mean, like everybody else, we had to cancel everything. It is one thing for, like I had the cookers, for example, in New Orleans and in Spoleto. New Orleans, I don't know yet, but hopefully they will take the same lineup from this year and move it to next year. Spoleto already said that that is most likely what they will do. I know from Tim Jackson at Monterey, that is what he is going to do. Whoever is available and around and in September, he will just take the same lineup from this year and move it to next year. Like many other dates. But what about tours? Like come back to the cookers. I had the 3-week tours with the cookers in March this year, and of course it got cancelled like the day before they left, because Italy was already in lockdown. But then Spain followed, everybody else followed, and only Sweden was left. So I had 2 dates which I had to cancel, while everything else was cancelled on us. While Sweden had no lockdown at all. But I'm trying to reschedule the whole tour, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way, because one festival probably won't exist next year. Another jazz series in Germany, in my hometown, Düsseldorf, that definitely is not going to do it again, because it was already an expenditure this year. Forget about next year. Then also, by March next year, will there be a vaccine available? I doubt it. If anything, there might be experiments being done, but it won't be implemented. And so it's difficult. So at the moment, from the 15 dates we had this March, I have 5 dates back, but spread out. And I need to fill the rest to make it work. So we are now getting to the end already. Is there anybody else who would like to ask anything? Or Gail, should we go? I think I have overstayed my stay. So thank you all. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you, Gail, again, for organizing all this. This is absolutely brilliant. And let's stay positive. That's all I can say. Let's listen to James Baldwin. We face it. Nothing can be changed that is not faced. Okay. Thank you all. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye. now I have to figure out how to close it.